Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Hattie podcast. And for this episode, I actually asked you guys during the week, what type of questions would you like me to cover in my next podcast, which is today? I actually filmed a podcast last week. Wasn't good enough, so that one is not going to go to air. And I tend to do that to myself quite a bit. I obviously want the episodes to be impactful, and I really enjoyed actually some of the questions that were asked. So there was quite a similar kind of theme amongst a number of the questions that were asked. So what I've done is I've collated maybe the 3 most powerful kind of questions that I want to cover for this one theme. And then if I have time, I'll explore a couple of other questions. But that's something that I really enjoy doing because it gives me a good idea of what you guys are interested in as well. Obviously, I come to these episodes and I share either conversations that I've had with friends, thoughts that I've been having, experiences that I have, things that I practice, conversations between clients or topics that I do within Flex Method that I think should go out into the world for you guys to practice as well. And today I'm going to do my best to share with you things that you can practice on your own, because at the end of the day, that's what I want you to get out of these podcasts, not just a little shift in experience or perspective, but also things that you could go away and practice. And before I go into the questions, one of the things that I always return to in moments when I notice that the gap between who I want to be and what I'm practicing becomes too distant. Now, we are all human beings. We all have moments where the season allows for us to be in gear 4. You guys have heard me talk about being in gear 4. If you haven't, there's a whole episode on shifting gears. And gear 4 is like when the season allows for us to be revving at like this really high level, right? We've got a lot of self-regulation. We have the ability to learn and organize and prepare. We might say, oh, I'm so disciplined at the moment. And it feels good. And we might notice we're doing all these things, yet we have this energy and capacity to do so. We get access to those seasons, but those seasons are not forever, and they're not meant to be, right? We are going to ebb and flow through highs and lows, through push and pulls, through twists and turns, through roller coasters. That's what life is. And the goal isn't to practice in, easy seasons. The goal is to practice in some capacity through all seasons. And I just got back from holidays and had an amazing time. But something that I really noticed was I was met with a lot of moments where I felt fragile. Now, I'm not fragile. No one is. We are not fragile. We are built to do hard things, especially not on our own. So with community and people that feel safe to share with, to grow with, to lean on, to fail forward with. But I really noticed that there was quite some sharp moments within my own experience. And I made the mistake of not bringing a journal with me. Now, I don't necessarily use my journal as dear diary, this is what's going on. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I generally use it as a way to plan and organize myself. And I use it to write out the habits and things that I want to practice, the behaviors that I can tick off, the things that I want to achieve, the things that I'm grateful for. I use it as a mirror. I hold myself to a standard. And I didn't bring that with me when I was away. And I really noticed it. But I really noticed it. That doesn't mean I was met with periods of freedom. And when I say freedom, it was experiencing myself fully with joy and love and care and flexibility in my system. So I was like, in other ways, I was easygoing. I could do anything. That's cool. We'll do that. And then other times I was like, I need to do this and this. It was really sharp. And I'm curious if you guys can understand that experience. And there was moments where I constantly felt like I was failing. I constantly felt like I was letting myself down and I was letting other people down. And I think that's something that mothers deal with. I think we all deal with. If you're a business owner, if you're trying to build a business, if you have people that are relying on you, if you're in the business of helping others, that's a heaviness that we can often feel. So the first thing that I did when I got back home, literally, we got home on Saturday night, went to sleep the next morning, is I got out my journal and I just got writing. And I wrote my experience, let that all out. And then I asked myself, what's my gap? And I actually sat and listened to my own episode, The Identity Gap, which if you haven't listened to, highly recommend that you do it because it's got a really good practice in there. And funny enough, I had to listen to my own words. And it was the episode that I needed to hear, to be honest. I needed to hold myself to a higher standard. I had softened some of my own edges by acknowledging some of my experience, but also having a little bit of self-compassion. And then asking myself, okay, if I want to create evidence about myself, that I am capable, that I'm not failing, that I am practicing being the leader, the wife, the athlete, the business owner, the coach that I want to be, what do I need to practice and how do I practice it? And if I practice those things, can I look at my scoreboard and say, I am practicing being the better version of myself? Because we have a better version of ourselves and we have a familiar version of ourselves. And the familiar version of ourselves is the one that we return to that is comfortable, but not often the version that we want to be. And something about our nervous systems that you have to remember is when the nervous system is dysregulated. So when we're dysregulated, we might notice we feel like we're in fight and flight. Everything feels overwhelming. We can't organize or plan. There might be speed in the system. We notice that our breathing's changed. We're sleeping. We feel restless. Or we feel lost, or we don't know what to do, where to start. I often feel sad and lonely. And I'm not ever alone, yet I feel a sense of loneliness. And that is when my system is just a little bit dysregulated. So I call her Lonely Girl. She has a name. She is a part. And I feel compassion for her when I'm not in her. But when we are feeling dysregulated, no matter how much action we want to take, no matter how much we want to achieve this goal, we are almost incapable of future planning. And while we'll start to, we might notice that we name call, right? We might say we need more discipline, or someone who is inexperienced with knowing how behavioral change actually works and actually knowing what the nervous system is like. Just have more discipline is probably the worst thing that someone could say to us or we can say to ourselves, because it doesn't work like that. The nervous system doesn't work like that. All you will do is continue to dig yourself into a hole. You just need to be more disciplined. Well, the nervous system in those moments can't access that. So what do we do first? We get clear. Get a piece of paper, or you might be someone that likes to audio into your phone. You might have a friend or a partner that feels safe enough to share, or you might have a coach. You can say, hey, I feel XYZ. I feel it because of this. I really want these goals. I don't know where to start. And often regulation can be improved purely by sharing our experience, which is why sharing your experience to yourself, you're allowed to cry, you're allowed to feel, you're going to do all the things, get emotional, let it all out. But this thing's not going to talk back to you. But what it can do is actually help you acknowledge what your experience actually is. Now, there's two ways that it can happen. We can be a victim to our experience. And if we're hanging around people who victimize their experience all the time, we might have a mum like that or a dad like that or a friend or a partner or someone that you know and you go, oh God, they're always complaining, they're always negative. And you might notice that when you're with them, you pick up on that too, right? This is why our environment is incredibly important as it shapes our standards for ourselves. Fat talk is contagious. Negative talk is contagious. But so is success, and so is growth, and so is learning how to fail forward. So get out your diary, right? Because one of the best things we can do is ask ourselves, okay, well, where are we at right now? What's our current location? And be honest, share your experience. My current location is this. I'm not doing this. I'm lacking this. I'm not prioritizing this. I'm choosing this. Cool. Let it out. Get clear. If I got clear on who the better version of myself is or what she practices or what feels like a manageable practice to start with, this is what I'm going to do. This is where I'm going to do it. And your life will dramatically improve if you stop snoozing your sleep in the morning. Your life will dramatically improve if you stop snoozing your alarm in the morning, because our standards start from the moment we wake up. So if that's the only thing that you improve on after this episode, guess what? You've practiced becoming a better version of yourself. Because as soon as you do that, as soon as that first morning that you don't snooze a button and you get out of bed, what do? I didn't snooze. Dopamine. You reward yourself by analyzing the fact that you did not snooze your alarm. Okay, I've got a little bit of momentum. Cool. I'm going to do, what's the next thing on my list that I can do? It literally can start from the moment you wake up. Your life can also dramatically improve if you change your environment that is suitable for change, that is suitable for growth, that encourages a higher standard, because we become the people that we surround ourselves with, right? Including your partner. This is why choosing your partner is very important. So if you notice that you are hanging around people that are encouraging you to not eat well, or to drink more alcohol than you'd like to, or to skip the gym, don't worry, you don't need it. No, everyone needs the gym. To skip the rep, to not do the thing, to not track your meals, to eat out with you, just have one more chocolate. It doesn't matter. They're encouraging you to stay comfortable. Stay the version of yourself that you are right now because it fits their mold. What's the worst thing someone can say to us? Don't ever change? No. Let's grow together is a better way of putting it. Your life will also dramatically improve if you look to use the resources around you. Now, your resources around you could be your friends. Like, hey, they're doing the thing that I want to do. Can you teach me how to do that? When I look to my friendship groups, when I look to the people that I engage with in social media, the people that I listen to, the podcasts I absorb, the conversations that I have, the people that I turn to when I would like some advice, they are all people who work hard and want to be successful and are successful. one of my partner's greatest traits is his ability to move fast. That has inspired me deeply. I look to him when I need help taking action. Whenever we have dinners with friends and lunches with friends, we share what we are doing that is allowing us to be successful. We share our secrets, our skills, our systems, the things that are working for us to our friends and vice versa. Our friends can get together and say, we just made this amount of money. We just accessed this. We just got this deal. We just made this. And we go, oh my God, that's amazing. And then we go, oh, that's so inspiring. And it leads me to keep showing up. It leads me to work harder. It leads me to look into my own business, life, career, leadership and go, where can I practice a little bit of that? I'm led by you. Thank you for leading me. So your life will dramatically change and improve if you look at your environment and improve it. People that want to be successful, people that encourage you to fail forward, people that encourage you to work hard, people that don't talk negatively about others, people who are not a victim to their circumstance. They're allowed to name it, they're allowed to share their experience, but they don't let it hold it back, and they encourage you to do the same. Now, your environment also includes your social media. And this is going to lead me into one of the first questions that I got asked from my Q&A this week. Bianca asked, what are the mindset shifts you can share when you're trying to grow and trying to not give in to the urge to be skinny? And the reason I actually love this question is because it taps onto what I just shared before, which is your life will dramatically improve if you improve the people that you hang around, the content that you absorb, the conversations you engage in, the things that you listen to. Now, a big part of all of our environment now is the internet. And do you know what you can do on your phone? You can curate your own social media. You can go into your Instagram and you can say, I don't want to see this, I don't want to see this, I don't want to see this. I'm interested in this, this, and this. So if you are on a journey of growth, physically, mentally, spiritually, surround yourself with people that encourage you to stay on that path. That's the first thing I'm going to say. Right? You can curate your environment and the people that enroll you into doing the thing that you want to succeed at. Another thing that I want to highlight is, and a question to ask yourself is, what is important to you? Why is getting strong important to you? Why do you want to grow muscle? Why do you want to be strong? Is it purely for the way you look? Totally fine. Or is it because it represents something to you? So often we race to the finish line, but the fun part and the part that counts more than anything, the part that gives us value beyond what we look like is the person we become along the way. It's the person we become along the way. Because guess what? When you reach this point, when you reach this body weight, when you reach this look, guess what? All you've done is reach a point. The game's not over. It's just getting started. It's, can you maintain this? Can you keep this? Can you maintain the habits that allowed you to build this body? Hey, now you got to actually do it better. Because if you want to get stronger beyond this point, if you want to build more muscle beyond this point, if you want to maintain this physique, guess what you need to do? Everything you're doing, but 1% better. And it's not necessarily about doing more. Context is important, but it's doing what's in front of us the best that we can. That's the discipline. And once we've absolutely rinsed the skill set that we have now and the things in front of us that we have now, the more part, that might be the right thing. But when we look at people who are the best in the world at what they do, they're not necessarily doing more, but they are fucking good at doing the basics. They're so good at doing the basics in all seasons. They don't get caught up in this feels uncomfortable. They don't get caught up in I've got to be shredded for summer. They don't get caught up in what Sally, the influencer, is doing. They are on their own path because they are trying to be the better version of themselves. So the mindset shifts that I would like you to practice is come into yourself and ask yourself, why is this important? Like, why do I want to grow muscle? Okay, I want to look a certain way. Great. Why is that important? Is it because I feel more confident? Is it because I like the way it looks? These are all great things to notice. Who do I have to become to embody that body? What do I want it to represent and what do I want to feel? When you say the urge to be skinny, look, I've been skinny. It was a full-time job. It's harder than comp prep. And, something I often think when I'm training hard in the gym is I go, skinny can't do this shit. Skinny can't lift double body weight. Skinny can't do a 70 kilo Bulgarian squat. Skinny can't do a 150 kilo squat. Skinny can't do a 150 kilo deadlift. Skinny can't do. And for me, that's enough to go like, I don't want to be skinny. I want to be strong and capable. I want to be resilient and resourceful. I want to see what this incredible vessel that I'm so grateful to have access to, what it can do. I want to see what these two things can do together because that's exciting. So come back to yourself. when you see people being the skinny, my encouragement would be unfollow that person. Not the right healthy thing for you. If it's tempting to you, right? This is the same with food. Like temptation is only there when you're looking for it. So if we are looking to go somewhere else, guess what? You're going to be distracted by going to that version. Remove anything that challenges what you want to achieve right now, especially while you feel a sense of vulnerability. I can sit here and say these things because I've done so many builds. I know what it's like. I don't fear the discomfort. I don't fear gaining weight. I love getting strong. I personally focus on the things that give me joy, which is training hard, eating lots of food, fueling, feeling like when Coben in my builds, like when he's grabbing me, I love that feeling. I don't enjoy the feeling of him grabbing me when I'm like super lean. I think there's a difference between being lean and being skinny. Skinny, what comes to my mind is like no muscle, just weak, thin, just personally for me, not my thing. I don't like how it feels on my body either. Whereas, building muscle and feeling strong and curvaceous, yeah, like when I get to a certain body weight, like it gets uncomfortable because I waddle and my back starts to hurt. But outside of that, like I love how it looks in my jeans. I love how it feels when Coben grabs my body. I love how it feels when I hug my body. And something that I encourage you to do is there's an episode I did about 2 episodes ago, and it was around intimacy with ourselves. And one of the practices that I did when I was learning to love my body through hard stages was I started to hug it, feel it, thank it for what it's doing. Because the spiritual thing about this journey is that every muscle that you grow, you fucking built that through your choice, through your resilience, through your capability, through your hard work, through doing the hard thing. You built that. You did that. And that's something you should be so proud of. You get to build it. You get to decide, right? Remove distraction, remove anything that is challenging you to stay on this path. And you're allowed to be uncomfortable. You're allowed to have moments where you're uncomfortable. But where I would lean into, and you can use your journal to do this, is ask yourself, while I'm on this journey of building my body, who do I want to embody? Who do I want to become? If someone was to follow me around with a camera on this entire journey, would I be proud of them to showcase that to the world? Would they be seeing me eating the food, tracking my macros, having some flexibility but not letting everything go, training hard, respecting myself, catching myself in moments when I'm noticing I'm being too sharp, right? So start to use words like empowerment, strong, strength, capable. What would I like to achieve? Set yourself some performance goals. Remind yourself that skinny can't do this. Strong does this. Capable does this. They're the things that you want to enroll yourself into and practice forward. A question that kind of complements this same question is, how did I switch my mindset to love my body in a build and accept weight gain as positive? And we are conditioned, and we have been conditioned for a long time, and it's kind of making itself way back, is we are conditioned to see weight gain as negative and weight loss as positive. If we think about the magazines that we read as kids, like for our moms, or what we're seeing on the internet, so rarely do we get, wow, she's gained weight. Good for her. She's great. It's always such and such has lost weight. Ooh, new bod revealed. I lost weight. Everyone's showing their cut journey. Not many people show their build. And when they show their build, all they talk about is how uncomfortable they are. So people who have never done a build get this story, I'm going to be uncomfortable before they've even started. And as soon as they start gaining some weight, they say, I'm uncomfortable. It's like, you haven't earned that yet. You're just saying it because everyone else says it most of the time, right? We're already conditioned that weight gain is bad and weight gain is uncomfortable. Now, that isn't true unless you want it to be. Let's zoom out. And this is how I view a building phase. A building phase is controlled weight gain. Controlled weight gain. It's the opposite of what you've experienced before, which is mostly in the past when we've gained weight, it's been the opposite, right? It's been when we've been out of control, not tracking our nutrition, not disciplined, not respecting ourselves, right? We might have been going through a hard time, and some people obviously undereat and some people overeat. Or we have emotional eating, we emotionally eat. And so our association with weight gain previously is negative. Let's acknowledge that. I think everyone in our life can acknowledge there's periods of our life where we've gained weight in a negative experience. Now, what is challenging when we enter into a building phase is that we take those previous stories and narratives and we attach it to what is happening here. And so we associate that weight going up as bad, even though there's a part of us that goes, I know I need to gain weight. This is a part of the build. And so we're met with all these polarizing experiences. So the mindset shift that I'd like you to practice is every time you gain weight in your building phase, can you look at, instead of focusing on the scale weight, can you look to your process and go, well, I trained hard this week. I hit some PBs. I progressed here. I nailed my nutrition. I nailed my sleep. I nailed my steps. I'm actually landing exactly where I'm meant to land. Oh, I followed the process. I respected the process. This is exactly where I'm meant to be. Because if you followed the process and you nailed the process and the weight went down, you're not eating enough. So you have to put the food up. Most people focus on the outcome of the scale weight instead of focusing on, am I following the process? Because if I'm following the process to the T and the scale weight goes up, we would say, logically and objectively, you've nailed the process. You landed exactly where you need to land. My experience of myself and clients that I work with, the ones that feel empowered in a building phase are the ones that follow the process. And they stop removing themselves from the scale weight and they fully focus on, how well am I showing up in this process? Oh my God, I'm so strong. Wow, I didn't realize I could eat this much food. I feel so strong and capable. I've got so much energy. Oh my gosh, I didn't know I was capable of this. It's only when clients who, start avoiding the process or stop wanting to step on the scales or get scared to put clothes on, when they know deep down they're not following the process, right? We don't see ourselves as we are, we see ourselves as we feel. So people who fear the building phase for gaining weight is because their previous experience of gaining weight was in an unhealthy way. It wasn't when they were following a process. It wasn't when they were tracking their nutrition. It wasn't when they were tracking performance. It was when there was no control at all. So when they step on the scale, it feels like no control. But gaining weight, gaining muscle is controlled weight gain. You are in control. It's the opposite experience of what you've done before if you are following the process. And so the focus always becomes follow the process. Respect the process first, follow it, and learn how to understand it. Learn the fluctuations. Learn why we train hard. Learn what true effort looks like. Learn why that's important. How muscle hypertrophy actually occurs, which is slow. And we need to be patient, which is why we don't just throw more food at you. We do it in a strategic manner and we say, this is the weight gain we want to see over each month. And if we're not hitting it, we need to eat more food. Or if we're overshooting it, we pull back on food. It is so strategic. And wow, what a privilege. What a privilege I get to build my body. What a privilege I get to earn this muscle. What a privilege that everything is actually in my control when it comes to how well I choose to step into the process and what I want to embody on it. You're not a victim to your circumstance. You're not a victim to your body unless you want to be. This is the thing we have to remember. It's like we get to choose what house we live in, right? We get to choose what we make the walls up of, which is the language that we use. Do we want to live in a jail or do we want to live in a mansion? Do we want to live in a jail or do we want to live in a house that feels comfortable and sturdy? And guess what? I built that. And that's something that I really, always lean into. And take your time. One of the greatest gifts bodybuilding will teach us is patience. Patience, perseverance, and being process-driven are all the friends of progress, and one step at a time. And things don't have to be perfect, but we get to choose how well we want to enter into this phase. Like, what do we want to get out of it beyond what the body looks like? So that's how I learned to love my body through the builds. I became fiercely process-driven. I cared about strength. I focused on strength. In fact, the first successful build I ever did was with Sebastian Oreb, 2014. And all I did was focus on how strong can I get? How much can I fuel my body to keep getting stronger? And I didn't even think about the weight gain. It literally was all about, how do I keep outperforming myself? How do I keep fueling my body in a way that I can keep doing this? Now, it was all controlled. It was all measured. But that year, I remember I took my food from like 2,200 up to 2,600. And that was such a big achievement. And then in 2020, I worked with another guy called Dean McKillop. He no longer takes on female athletes. And I reached out to him because I was like, I've made huge progress on my own with my own nutrition, but I still recognize I had a limitation. And I remember seeing another athlete, she was eating 3,000 calories. And I was like, I want to learn how to do that. And so in the same way that we can teach our body to eat less, right? That's what women are very good at. We can do the opposite. We can teach our body how to handle more. Now, everything is a strategy. And over 6 months, I went from eating 2,250 calories a day to 3,000 over 6 months. And it was strategically increased. And all I had to do was focus on how I showed up in my training, checking in every week, asking for help when I need it, and being fiercely consistent with my nutrition. I still ate out once a week. I still had chocolate. I had my fruit, my veggies. It was a very balanced diet, but I was so fiercely driven on seeing if I could take my calories there. And I got my body weight to a body weight that I'd never been before. And I was so proud. And I wasn't proud of the body weight. I was proud of the athlete that I showed up like. It was so empowering to go beyond a calorie limit that I thought I could never increase from, to be able to eat 500 grams of carbs, to like hit a body weight that I'd never been and not care about it, and to just look at myself and be so immensely proud of the person that I showed up as, because I got to embody what an athlete was. And I have carried so many lessons from that build that I carry into today as my own athlete and with my clients. Most women underestimate how much food they can actually train themselves to eat when they are being strategic and they trust themselves and they trust the process and they trust the coach with them. And one of the most powerful things that we could ever do is let go of what society tells us what we should be. When we can remove toxic environments or toxic influences or people that are encouraging us to stay small or encouraging us to do the skinny thing, let go of them. Let go of them and be absolutely amazed at what you could achieve. You will blow your own mind. The other piece of that is thank your body every day. What a privilege it is that we have an able body, that we can go train, that we can get strong, that we can nourish it, that we can feed it, right? Get your journal out. What do I want to practice? Why do I want to embody it? Why is that important to me? How do I take action? And what am I using to measure my success? Is it how skinny I am, or is it how much I'm lifting, how empowered I feel, how good I feel in my body, the fact that I can thank it, the fact that I can hear a part of me that's scared but say, I know you're scared, but it's okay, I've got you. And be able to self-talk ourselves, to shift perspective and encourage us to keep getting strong, to keep building muscle, to keep showing up, to stop punishing, to stop trying to catch up, to stop belittling, to stop comparing, right? A question I often ask clients and people that I do sales calls with when they're telling me how much they're failing, I ask themselves, well, how do you measure your success? Is it through comparing yourself to other people, or are you comparing yourself to a previous version of you that you can go, there are things that I'm doing that are familiar from an earlier version of myself, but man, I'm still doing it a little bit differently. Actually, I've got self-awareness. I'm naming and noticing in my experience, and I'm not going down the hole like I used to. So we have to know what success is for ourselves, because I think that's really important. I'm actually going to stop the episode there, because everything that I shared just between those two questions is so much to already strew on. All of those practices are something that we can go, where in my life do I need to improve? What do I need to cull, right? What do I need to take away before I add in? What do I need to take away? What do I need to shift? What do I need to do to surround myself so that I'm not lowering my standards, I'm raising them, and I'm held accountable for those. I'm being encouraged to fail forward. I'm being encouraged to work hard. I'm being encouraged to grow mentally, physically, spiritually. So to wrap this episode up, if you're not already, go get yourself a journal. Each morning, ask yourself, what is one thing I want to practice? How am I going to practice it? Where am I going to practice it? What are 3 things I'm grateful for? Why am I grateful for them? At the end of the day, can I ask myself, did I show up as that person? Why is that important to me? Can we minimize the gap of where we are now and where we want to be through small daily actions? And like I said, if you haven't already yet, last episode on the identity gap, a really great episode to complement this episode with. And for those of you who are struggling with your body right now and finding it hard to have intimate moments, the episode on intimacy is another fantastic episode. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you love this episode, please let me know. Remember, you guys, we have 2 hands, one for helping ourselves and one for helping others. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week.